última charla del día de hoy, keynote speaker, Luigi Ferri, un profesional con más de 20 años, también, con más de 20 años de experiencia, especialista en seguridad, en implementaciones de seguridad, en entornos regulados y es una de las pocas personas en el mundo que tiene la certificación ITIL Master. Y al igual que con María Ferreño, os recomiendo, es un gran creador de contenido, tiene un podcast de ITSM Practice y publica mucho contenido, es un gran creador que está todo el rato compartiendo sus ideas y novedades. Así que con todos vosotros, Luigi Ferri.
Good afternoon.
The stage is yours.
Thank you. So, it's a pleasure for me to be here, and today we will discuss why IT security fails without service management. In several organizations, there are different views about service management and how service management and IT security are talking. Before starting to warm up, a poll between us quickly. Raise your hand if a simple glitch in IT turned a full-blown security hitch in your organization. So it happened to me. And also, raise your hand if your change requests in your company sometimes are skipping the security reviews before being processed. And the last one, and we start with the presentation, raise your hand if IT and security are reporting to different people. I'm a project manager, so I work in an organization that's providing security managed services. I'm an ITIL Master, and since 2017, I share knowledge. I share knowledge on LinkedIn and in a podcast. Today, I'm discussing with you my experiences as a person on the field that every day is implementing service management, ITIL, in connection with the financial services. This is one of my cases when I was a consultant. A fintech startup cannot get a European banking license due to poor IT security maturity. What was the problem? The problem was lack of IT security, and this was very feasible in change management. All departments, in case of a glitch, or in case of not passing the financial authority audit, were complaining to each other. In this specific case, everyone was blaming the other department. The question was very evident because IT service management that was connected to the IT department had a plan. Security had another plan. They were managing the same, let's call now high-level incident with two different clouds. And this was creating a lot of issues, not only when we were managing change management, incident management, or the CMDB, but also every time we want to understand what is our exposure to risk, what is the status of our patching. And these two words were not talking. Why they were not talking? They were not talking because the organization was structured in two different realities. We had people working on service management and people working on security. They were not having the same definition. So if we watch on the left side, service management is a set of capabilities. The goal is to give stable operations. And the pillars are incident, change, and asset management. There are also other pillars, but these are the first three that I want to discuss with you. Security has the goal of defending, using the CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, availability of information assets. But the information assets are sitting inside systems that are managed by IT. So how we can have confidentiality, integrity, and availability if we don't have a service management? It's a service management creating the conditions for having the CIA triad working. Now, this is another example. We have a patch. The patch must be applied inside one of our data centers, but we don't have a CMDB. So we don't know exactly where is the machine. Yes, we have Kubernetes, we have JSON, we have GitLab, but only few people are able to investigate in this forest of tools and understand where is the machine that we want to patch. And in this case, the issue, the breach, was not depending by IT security tools. was depending from the fact that there was an absence of IT service management. And here I'll give you an example. We have two typical activities of service management and typical activities of IT security. The incident management is feeding the threat response. So we cannot have inside our organization an incident that at some point is managed by two different groups that are not talking between them. If we introduce change, we need a gate from a security point of view. How many times we receive a patch, or we receive like last year for me was a shocking Microsoft, the number of patches delivered in 1 year, and you have to read all the documentation, try to understand, yes, I have to patch the server, but patching the server will create another vulnerability with a correlated system, and what is the status of my configurations when a patch is applied? And another topic that is very important, where personally I found very challenging in organization, is the lack of CMDB or asset management. Asset management is the basic, so a system where we have all our VMs, all our configurations, that we want to evolve to CMDB, where we can see relations. And when we are managing our operations, security operations or service operations, we are able to understand what are the correlations. When we want to plan a change, we know that this change is affecting not only one system, but multiple systems, and what is the affected business process. If we understand the scenario and we work in an organized way, considering security part of service management, we can achieve an agile and resilient IT environment. I give you an example. Every morning I go to the office and I see what are my incidents. I have a different type of incident. I have the finance department that cannot access the ERP, and this is a service incident. But on the other side, I notice several logins from unknown IP. So we cannot work this, okay, this is a security, I don't care. This is a service management, I care. We need to have an integration. Only one workflow inside our platform, only one process, and the teams are working together, defining and responding to incidents based on the scenario, not based on the nitty-gritty detail. Because it happens that people will tell, I don't own this, it's not my problem, but you have strange and suspicious login attempts to investigate. And also, if we work together when we have the typical operations like what we were calling in the old ITIL V3, the service operations package of processes that today are practices. If we work all together, we are able to understand the flow of information, and you can rely on a team that is capable of running IT security, IT operations together. So the question that I put under every slide is for myself and for everyone who has, because we can try to understand. For example, what is the status of your security incident management teams and programs today? They use different tools. The SOC as a tool, and the service operation is having another tool. How you exchange information from a department to another department using different tools? Copy and paste, this is very complex. When you have different teams spread in different countries and you have to serve the customer, it's very complicated to manage this type of operations. What to do? This is a typical example compliant to the majority of organizations that are working under a European banking license. They have to fulfill service incident. And these are the typical stage of a service incident. But you have to manage also security incident. And these are the typical stage of a security incident. This is a challenge because if you don't have a joint response plan when you have to manage events, and you don't have a shared communication model, you will have service operations working in a silos and IT security working in silos, and you don't have a unified response to threat. Today, an hacker knows that trying to attack your organization multiple times, at some point they will find a breach. Last year, 44% of 0 days were related to enterprise software. This is not my opinion. I read on HelpNet Security. So if we have a joint response plan, we have predefined approach models, let's call incident models in this case, or could be problem models, where every time we identify a potential threat to the organization, we approach using a standardized approach. We avoid situations like, who owns this? Oh, this is not my department, it's your department. No, we have a supplier that needs to take care of this. This means that we have the same rules. If today we think about two well-known frameworks, ITIL, ISO 27001. ITIL is giving you a vision. ISO 27001 is giving you another vision. These frameworks are flexible. You have to build your own vision that is fitting, how you share, how you classify, how you identify impact, how you mapping the potential impact in your organization. You use two frameworks and you build what is the rule that works for your organization. And also you define only two types of escalations. You can have hierarchical escalation, you can have a functional escalation when there are specific conditions. For example, the number of transactions that are failing in an e-commerce site, or you have a specific amount of potential infected VMs in your data center. In the other side, shared communication is important because when it's finishing an event, you have to analyze the timeline, you have to analyze what happened, and to build an image of this security event or service management event, and to move forward applying what are long-term resolutions. This means that you can analyze the full chronology using one tool, you can analyze the incident using one timeline, and you can create the primary record, or you can create a root cause analysis using the same set of information. You can find also the weak spot, because when you are reading the incident through the life cycle, you can understand which team was requiring time and resources to manage it. So, this is a big question, because in a lot of our organizations, also in my organization, security and service management are two different words, with the two different directors. And the problem is also here. If we don't have service management and IT security sharing the same metrics and the same goals, we have a problem. If I ask to the IT department, speed. If I ask to DevOps, speed. And I want stability from the IT security department. And the number is 80% in IT and 20% in IT security, it's very challenging to have an environment that goes with the speed of the market and keeps the information security. We can standardize, starting to approach with a very simple definition, a simple definition of metrics that are shared between service management and IT security. Preventing vulnerabilities. If we have hidden risks, we are not able to fix the potential risks. So we have to investigate, we have to prevent the changes in production using change management. In a lot of startups where I worked, we were not using change management. Oh, there is an issue, I go there and I fix it. Oh, there is an issue, I go there and I fix it. And what happens? Happens that after X months, you don't have any control over your environment, and every time you try to assess the risk of installing a patch or making a change, you don't know what are all the potential correlations. And this is a problem. So what is one solution? One solution that we can have, we can bring at home, is to understand if in our change management, that must be mandatory, we have security reviews, because it's the place where we avoid that the change leads to multiple incidents or that the change is creating potential risks. This is an example that is based on the German Financial Authority. This is the typical fintech change management that is required. The requester is submitting the ticket, is starting the process. Inside the process that is in flow, we have assessment and planning, we have an approval, we have implementation, we have review and closure, and after here is happening, okay, now we have to inform security. And this is totally missing. Security is not having a visibility of this, because it's not considered a part of service management. My suggestion is that IT security is part of service management. So inside when it is submitted the ticket, security is running an initial screening. Security, during assessment and planning, is also running a security impact evaluation. What is the short-term and long-term impact of this change inside our organization? When there is the approval, security is a part of the change advisory board, and they confirm that this change can be executed. There are no risks, there are no issues, there are no projects that will be affected. During the implementation, we need to create inside our organization. If for you it's interesting, the NIST website of the US government has guidelines how to create secure deployment practices for security installations. And we can have a standardized approach. This is avoiding that if we have John, Jack, and John, everyone is applying a change to the same system in a quarter using a different way. We strive for automation, and if we cannot apply automation, the NIST website, documentation is free. You can check there. There are guidelines that are teaching you how to standardize secure deployment. And in the review and closure, we have the post-change security validation. I give you an example. A system is critical. It's an ATM. We apply patch in all ATMs, but we need to scan also the ATM with our scanner to understand if after the patch installation, there are potential threats. This can be done during this stage. This is just to give you a clear example of how security and service management are talking every day. So, how this can be prevented? This can be prevented if we make security part of service management. Another topic is asset management. We cannot protect what we don't know. So if I think about some startup, they use cloud services, Kubernetes, GitLab, but you don't have a single view of your pre-production, single view of production, single view of a live environment. If you miss this, you don't have a minimum asset management, and you don't have a CMDB, or you don't plan to do this, you are working blind, because you don't know where to apply patches. You don't know if there is a potential vulnerability, if you have an OWASP top 10 inside your organization. And the question for us is, what is the level of accuracy of our systems? A CMDB or an asset management? Let's say asset management is very minimal, the list of your VMs. Your CMDB is, what are the business processes that are running thanks to these VMs? What is the level of accuracy? Are you able to identify all the environment, all applications inside of your organization? This is a key every time we talk about security, vulnerability, and change management. This is an example that comes from my experience. An organization was providing ATMs. We had this. It is working. It is old, runs on Windows 2000, but it is not mapped. The engineer that is managing this maybe is not here, but is still there doing his job. And here we have the new one. He is beautiful, works, he has all the information, he's patched, he runs smoothly. They are doing the same job. What is the problem? That we don't know what is this. We don't know where is this. And this is every day a threat for your organization. So we need to consider our organization. Are we more like the ATM on the right or more like the ATM on the left, or we are in the middle? We need to identify all potential assets and ask to ourselves what is the life cycle of these devices and how we will manage their retirement or their upgrade. Without a service management, we have an increase of risks, an increase of inconsistent controls. Example, you need to pass a specific audit, and they are expecting that you have change management that is managing the change of all data centers. And with the minimum check in a Linux server, an auditor can tell, yes, you applied the change the 1st of March, but you don't have any change documented in your tool for this appliance. This will be a problem. And compliance gaps, especially for GDPR, there are countries very strict. And every time you are applying a change to an asset where customer information are flowing or employee information are flowing, you have to take care that the change is mapped to support the technical operational measures. So if we don't integrate security in service management, we have a fragmented security inside the different perimeters and different tools that are giving an information that is not standardized. My suggestion is to use ITIL. Why ITIL? Because it's flexible. Why ITIL and not the ISO 20000? Because ITIL has a much bigger community behind that is supporting you acquiring knowledge, learning knowledge, The fact that vendors choose ITIL to deliver service management is giving you the chance of finding templates inside the service management platform. And also there are resources built by the Spanish government, the Italian government, the German government, where you can find guidelines, because our cybersecurity agencies are building guidelines for us, and we can use these guidelines as a minimum tool to consider inside our organization how we want to do something. We don't need every time to restart from the scratch. You can choose another framework, but you will not find the same level of details. For example, I was sharing the NIST. The NIST is a government institution. They build documents for everyone. We can read the NIST documentation, and we can also map this on ITIL, or we can understand how much ITIL process we need, and we have a basic tool to analyze our organization to understand where we are and where we want to arrive in terms of maturity. I give you here an example. If we have a strategy with a unified framework, we use ITIL in IT and in security. One framework. There are several practices, in the past called processes. You can identify all practices that you need, but the most interesting thing, once you learn ITIL, you can build your own practice respecting the ITIL values. For example, if you create a service package because the Spanish financial authority wants a specific product with specific descriptions, you can use ITIL service design to build this. And you don't have every time to reinvent the wheel. Integrated incident response. You have one tool, one process, one team, one training session, and all people are working on the same way. The only question that is needed is this incident a security incident or a service management incident? You don't have any more split the teams. Change management with security gates is protecting from mistakes. CMDB-driven asset security means that you know what is inside your organization every moment. A continual improvement comes from the fact that all of this knowledge needs a knowledge manager that is creating the guidelines that are reducing the number of mistakes that in every organization we do. I do mistakes, my colleagues are doing mistakes. Sometimes we are not a bit lazy, we don't read the documentations, every change could become a problem. And these are the practices that I suggest to consider in terms of maturity. So if tomorrow you want to integrate security inside the service management, I suggest that you evaluate these 5 pillars, and they will help you to understand how much you are far. So incident management, you bring security incident inside the ITIL practice. Same for change, asset, problem management, and continual improvement. This is the minimum set. You can find resources for free for incident, change, asset, and problem, and you can build your own vision. And this will help you to integrate security in service management, and in the long term, you will have always security incident because this is part of life, and hackers are there trying to, let's say, make their day. But you will have a more integrated environment, and this means that in the long term, you will have less downtime. A strong security culture starts when teams are not working anymore in parallel, but they work united, unison, just as one thing. This is important because it's a big silos. In Italy, in UK, in Germany, where I worked, there is say, in the org chart, the cube of security, the cube of service management, but they are facing the same challenges. If a leadership wants this change, in the medium and the short term, they will see the benefit, because security and service management are talking using the same language. Today, when we are designing a project, we design a project using Prince2 or Scrum, and after at some point we think about security. So if it's an IT project, at some point you have to integrate security. With this approach, my suggestion is you start to think about security and service management the moment that you are designing or you are in the first stage of your project, and continuous integration. So today we have cloud, AI, RPA. All these solutions are talking with ERP, service management, customer data. If we integrate security service management, we have one point to control, and one point that is spreading the rules inside our organization. So the question for me, for everyone, our culture is supporting an integration of service security practices, or we think about this? To integrate security in service management is a big change, but the question is if we don't do this, we don't approach this organizational change, in the long term, we will chase constantly the issues coming from the attackers, the lack of configurations. IT security and IT service management cannot work in isolation. So one is protecting the other one. Yesterday I was reading that Microsoft is delivering now a new big change where you can have the connection between your desktop and your private drive and your company drive, and you can switch between both without authentication. This is a typical situation. Who will approve this change? It will be service management or is IT security? If you have an integration, this problem that arose yesterday can be managed by one team, and you don't have to think about, I did a mistake. So this was an overview of what is to integrate service management inside the IT security. And now, if you want, Pablo, for me, it's a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Luigi, to be here, to coming from Berlin, from Berlin, and for share with us a so insightful presentation. Because, as you mentioned, we always see service management and security management as two different realities, but it's not. It's one service, one value stream. So. Thanks so much for sharing, Luigi. Go with the questions. The first one, with the AI in enterprises, how do we address the new vulnerabilities in our teams, processes, and services?
Yes, this is a very good, very good
An
question.
easy one.
Yeah,
an easy one to start.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So the first thing that I suggest is, if you want to introduce AI in your organization, start with an assessment. So I had organizations started from 0 to hero, having problems. My suggestion is start with the proof of concept, define which systems will feed AI, and what do you want to achieve. And consider also a way to audit AI, because we have a problem. I did an experiment, because I use AI every day. It makes my life easier, it cuts a lot of my time. I was trying to create problem reports, extracting data from my service management tool, creating a prompt that has a goal to create a problem report, but AI was pleasing me. So I told, give me a problem report in order to discuss this with the team. So AI chose to take my position and attacking the team. Mm-hmm. And after I told to the same tool, now I'm in this team, write the answer. And I found this situation where the problem report was there, but the information was a bit manipulated. So my suggestion is, start with a proof of concept, clean your data, and after define the rules, and verify that the rules are really telling the truth when you are analyzing data.
Great. The next one, to follow compliance rules, it is supposed to open a change for every vulnerability detected. In a big and complex scenario, this would mean hundreds of changes.
Yes. The first thing, we get vulnerabilities from a recognized website or from a recognized organization. Once we receive the vulnerability, we can define a threshold in our risk management process. For example, if the CVE point is 0.1, you don't create a risk. If the point is 0.1, but the machine is supporting our payment system, you have to assess what could be the impact. So I cannot use an approach black and white. Every vulnerability needs a change management very strict. No. You can also use a standard change for a vulnerability. What is important is the level of risk. If it's low level, you can track it. You don't need to open a risk. You can use a standard change because you are assessed this event in the past and you know how to act. But if this vulnerability is affecting a relevant number of your virtual machines, you think that there could be a potential issue because the number is relevant, my suggestion is approach with a normal change. You start with the first batch, second batch, third batch, and after you finish your activity. More balanced. But I don't suggest, I always suggest a balanced approach because it's very expensive for an organization to have a mistake.
And it's the same for CMDB, and CS the same for a lot of things. We always need to have the cost in front in our thoughts. So thanks so much, Luigi, for being here and for your presentation.
Thank you. Grazie.